It's just a matter of time, motherfucker! Hey, she's there! Finish the cunt! Think, assholes, think!
So this is what keeps me, brother.
Look out! I'm going in!
For those of you who haven't met me yet, I have a malfunction in my operating system. There's this glitch that forces me to test my limits whenever I lay my optics systems on a new video game. I suppose the non-sci-fi equivalent is, I'm the absolute idiot who tries to do a fresh save of a Souls game with that class that comes with bugger all stats and is wearing a loincloth. That being the case, I deliberately sought a way to do a hard yards play of my 5-hour hands-on with Cyberpunk 2077. I manufactured, for science, what I imagine to be the trickiest build to play as. A pure, cool build. We're going to look into how that bad decision went in a minute, but first I need to do a quick bit of housekeeping. CD Projekt Red has been good enough to furnish me with 26 minutes of new footage, some of which you've just watched now, completely unmolested by my voice. Now it's my style to regularly sprinkle that sort of thing throughout my videos, to just shut up and let the game do the talking. So yeah, if you want to jump to those sections quickly, I've used the chapters function in the YouTube play bar down there. Simply click on the sections listed gameplay to zip right to them. I've also labelled and separated my talkie sections with the topic that I'll be going on about. Last of all, you should know that I'll be covering plot points and the resolutions to all 3 of the life story prologue parts of the game. I'm also going to explain 1 or 2 of the very, very early main path quests, plus there's going to be some ripped footage from some previous E3 presentations on this game. Now in my mind, there are no earth-shattering twists revealed, but if you do want to go into 2077 virginal, yeah, maybe steer clear. Alright, well, I've spoken too much. Here's some more of that raw gameplay before we talk about the basic premise of this Game of the Year contender.
Your moment to shine, kiddo. Good luck. Let's take this piece of wonder tech for a whirl. You're a man of little faith. See? We're rich. Now fire her up and call me when you're underway. Tell you where to go. Looks like this'll be a cool breeze.
Get the fuck out.
Okay. Easy.
Nothing personal, compa. Just biz. Rayfield's mine.
What? Man, never heard of thieves' honor. Finders keepers. I was first.
Listen, only 1 or 2 ways to do this. Friendly or fucked up. Either way, the ending's the same. I'm taking the car.
What are you doing?
Chingados?
NCPD, drop your weapons! You're under arrest! Hands where I can see them. Nice and slow.
Jackie Wells, my old pal from the hood. See you haven't grown an ounce wiser.
Hey! Detective Stintz. Been a while, huh?
Inspector Stintz.
Same shit.
Speaking of, your mug's familiar too.
Yeah? Yours ain't to me.
Left for Atlanta, looking for a slice of happiness. Guess you didn't find it. I've always maintained it's the same for all you termites in Haywood. Born here, live here, die here. Looks like I was right.
You know, fuck all about me.
Truth hurts, huh? Just watch your tone. I'm not a patient man.
Hey, come on, Stintz. Give us a break, huh? You lock us up, they'll just jerk off till trial. And then what? Worst case, we get some months. Hell, standing room only nowadays in El Bote. So, they'll probably be out early.
Are these the thieves?
Fuck,
Ordinary
yeah.
street trash.
Got him in custody, Mr. Fujioka. We'll be taking him now.
It's a waste of effort. I have no time to testify or play at an investigation.
Suggesting we let him go, sir?
I suggest you toss them in the sea. Cuff legs broken so this trash doesn't float.
You heard him.
Fuck.
When it comes to Cyberpunk games, I'm an OG fan of the following titles, plus a whole bunch of modern stuff as well. I'm happy to say then that the main story and the world of 2077 is ticking all the tonal boxes for me. It says Cyberpunk on the tin, and that's exactly what you're going to be jacking into. To set the scene, here's a brief synopsis on the plot and the world as told by CDPR themselves. Cyberpunk 2077 is a first-person, open-world action RPG with player choice and consequence at its heart. You'll carve your own path in the dystopian megalopolis known as Night City through the continuous customization and personalization of your character, weapons, equipment, and playstyle. You'll play as V, a mercenary outlaw set to take on the riskiest job of their life. The score? A prototype piece of cyberware that holds the key to immortality. With the stakes this high, you need to be prepared to enhance, change, and sacrifice your body in order to overcome your enemies and build your legend. Your story is going to begin with you carving out a foothold in the city and learning what it takes to make a name for yourself. You're ambitious, but inexperienced, and during the course of your story, you'll choose how to develop yourself into a name everyone in Night City knows and remembers. Technically speaking, this game shares a history with the original pen and paper RPG, Cyberpunk 2020. But CDPR's version of this dark future has its own identity and backstory. It is a world obsessed with power, glamour, and ceaseless body modification. The desperately poor live right beside the ultra-rich, torn between the watchful eyes of almighty megacorps and the vicious embrace of psychotic gangs. You are very much a part of this world. Whatever path you choose, this is your playground. And you know what? It's time for some more of that gameplay.
Electric coupling module.
You said it was nothing serious when I came in. You said you were sure.
Guess I was wrong. Can always look for another shop where they won't ask a lone nomad why he's hugging the border.
That's fine. Step aside.
What? Got any idea what to do?
I'm gonna bypass the coupling and rig a hot wire.
Compressor will run on and on. Could seize out.
Did anyone ask your opinion? Okay, let's see what happens.
It's like I was telling you. No. Not shabby at all. Question's how long it'll last you.
That'll get me to Night City. I'll figure something else out there.
Right. Antenna on this heap don't seem like it packs a punch. Not liable to hear much.
You don't say.
Hey, Mike. Didn't know you had a customer.
Rolled in a few hours past. I thought he'd at least called in.
Don't you sweat it, Mike. We're gonna hash it out. Don't you know you owe the sheriff a word when you pay his town a visit? To tell him what's brought you here. Maybe even over a cup of coffee.
No need to worry. I won't be staying long.
Didn't answer my question now, did you?
So, let's talk about how I went about building my ultra cool build of V. I can tell you now that the creator character mode has expanded threefold beyond what was briefly teased in that deep dive video from August 2019, shown on the screen right now. I took my time and sifted right through this, trying to make life as interesting as possible for my V. Out of the whopping 252 individual options to select from, everything from nail length to nipple size to piercings, I fashioned my champion. Honestly, I took way too long doing so, and I could write an entire thesis on the topic. I also took the time to jot down all of the individual slider options and how many options there are nested within each. As you can see, there's quite a few. It's also worth mentioning that whenever you change an element, it doesn't abruptly switch on the model. It kind of organically sculpts or almost morphs into it. It's the little flourishes like that I appreciate. Speaking of small, possibly unimpressive things, some 40 minutes later into the creation process, I added the pièce de résistance to my V. Along with some man boobs, I had dialed my default penis size down to a tic-tac. You should also know that default and large are also options, as are circumcised or full turtleneck. Amusingly, switching between schlongs comes with this little gravity jiggle. Looking beyond that, your junk options also include for JJ, or you can just switch genitals off for that mannequin chic. But I wasn't done there, my friends. Next, I gave myself a thatch of radiation green pubic hair. Full Joker manscaping. Though I did eye hot pink and the good old-fashioned ginger minge. Moving along, your 5 downstairs haircut options stretch to a lightning bolt, a love heart, that welcoming landing strip, or you can just go full Brazilian. Personally, I trimmed my V's bush right back to resemble the Arasaka company logo, because my lovers ought to know at a glance that I'm all business when I get on the job. Embracing CD Projekt Red's fluid class system approach, I next came up with the toughest attribute build I could think of. And it's worth noting that each of the 5 core stats I'm about to mention split off into multiple perk trees, providing you've leveled up to earn spendable points. More on that in a little bit. For now, your 5 core stats are body, which is raw physical power. It improves health, reduces bullet spread, increases melee damage, and max stamina pool. Then there's reflex, coordination, and speed. It increases critical chance, attack speed, increases evasiveness, in as much as how easy it is for NPCs to hit you. Next up is intelligence. It reduces hacking difficulty levels, shortens program upload duration, and memory pool. Following that, you have technical ability. We're talking technical aptitude that grants you armor and increases your chance of harvesting craftable loot. Last but not least, we have what we're here for. Cool. Self-control and willpower. This improves stealth and speed at which NPCs notice you. It also increases critical hit damage and improves effect resistances. So yeah, basically what I did, I came along and I just maxed out every starter point I could into cool, and I left the others at a minimum, which, if you're interested, is 3 points, not 0. With maximum cool achieved, I was now fully prepared to be somewhat average at everything, but also look goddamn exceptional as I was doing it.
Ya tengo planes para esta noche. Sí, mamá. Te vas a enterar mañana. No. Yo también te quiero, ma. Yeah, about time, Holmes.
What's new with Senora Wells?
You know, she's worried about me. Whatever. Can't help herself, you know? Checking to see if I'm not rotting in some dumpster, like most of the Wells boys. It's really starting to wear on me. The more I tell her everything's okay, the more I feel like I'm straight up lying. But that's done after tomorrow. Afterlife, here we come, baby. Yeah!
We're only here because Dex is pulling the strings. Doubt that puts us in the same league as them.
Oh, well, we are. They just don't know it yet. Ready to get your cherry popped? Yeah, come on! Place used to be a morgue. You believe that?
Who would have thunk?
I know, right? Way before our time, that. When proper burials were still a thing.
And who might you clowns be?
Name's V. This is Jackie Wells.
Oh. Is that supposed to sound familiar?
It will soon. We're here to see Dex.
Yo, Dex. Got 2 live ones saying they're here to see you. Yeah? Alright then. Says he needs a second or 2. Go get yourselves drinks or something.
Way ahead of you, viejo. This is it. The heart of Night City. That's it right there. Beating. Hear it? Can you imagine? Susan Forrest, Boa Boa, maybe even Morgan Blackhand. All sat on those stools. Fell asleep on that same bar.
Looks like we're up.
You see that old lady there? That's Rogue. Best fixer in all of Night City.
Thought Dex was the best.
Rogue was lining up jobs when Dex was still shitting in diapers. Place belongs to her.
What can I get you?
You order.
2 tequila old fashions with a splash of cerveza and a chili garnish.
Duo of Johnny Silverhands coming up.
Right on, chica.
Somebody did their homework.
Looks like the dog ate mine.
Age-old tradition. Drinks are named after our regulars.
Say I wanted a drink named after me. What would I have to do?
Snuff it. Mind-blowingly spectacular fashion. Mid-op would be best.
What a beautiful tradition.
To Night City.
And the afterlife. Ha ha!
We should take some time now to teach you about how you get better in this game. Here's how CDPR breaks everything down. First off, you have a character level, dictated by the amount of XP you have. Most XP will come from completing quests. When you level, you earn perk points and attribute points to spend, choosing which direction to develop your character. There's also street cred, which admittedly is probably closer to my idea of what cool should have been. It's something different to character level. It's earned by completing contracts, doing open world activities, and by completing bounties put on enemies in the world outside of the main quest. Street cred unlocks new vendors and grants access to higher quality items. And the more items that are open to you, the wider your customization can become. Next up, there's skills. You gain skill proficiency XP by performing certain actions, mostly by killing enemies with guns, for example. The more you do this, the more skill proficiency. In this case, that would level up the gunslinger skill. The more you do something like this, the more skill proficiency points you'll earn, which improves your effectiveness at these actions. Lastly, we have weapons, cyberware, items, and attire. As you level and explore, you'll access new clothing, boomsticks, skills, and implants. These will provide V with passive and active abilities which will further personalize your character and playstyle. All in all, and like I mentioned previously, this is a fluid class system. This means having full control of your playstyle and ending up with one that feels built from the ground up, suited to your tastes. Moving back to the last step of character creation, you'll have a choice of 3 life paths. And a basic description here is a short origin story prologue that greatly shapes your narrative course throughout the game. I've put the basics on the screen right now. And hey, some of the new footage presented here today actually covers gameplay from these sections as well, in particular the Nomad option. For my cool build, I ignored Street Kid and the Nomad. I became a filthy Corpo rat. This was mostly because we've not seen the corporate choice play out in preview materials yet, but also because I figure being dropped into a high-powered Viper's nest filled with turbo Patrick Batemans is about as uphill a start as I could get. As luck would have it, my instincts were proven correct in all of 20 minutes. But mind you, it's my understanding that pretty much all 3 of the prologues kind of jerk you around and leave you figuratively washed up on the shores of Night City. My Corpo life starts out pretty well. I'm a medium-sized wheel in Arasaka's counter-intelligence mob, rubbing shoulders with the pretty people throughout an office space that sports decor from the Brotherhood of Nod collection. Pretty soon, my V is drawn into some inter-office backstabbing, going on between my clearly psychotic boss, Arthur Jenkins, and his promotion-thieving superior, Susan Abernathy. Long story short, Jenkins presses a whole bunch of eddies into my palm, which are Euro dollars to you and I, and he more or less orders me to hook up with my underworld contacts and get to wet work on Abernathy's dearest ones. Being the good employee, I hop an AV and go for a very Blade Runner-esque hover ride downtown. Like an excited prom attendee, I fiddle with the radio and drain a few glasses of champers as I'm offered a breathtaking view of Night City. It's a neon-soaked seaside metropolis filled to the brim with cyborgs out to screw you for a percentage. Often literally. The whole damn place is like one big red light district. And I'm okay with that.
No designated landing site has been detected at the destination.
Find a spot close to the bar, as close as you can. Fuck procedures.
Initiating landing sequence based on new parameters. We have arrived at your destination.
Fuck's your problem, Psycho Suit? This look like a landing pad to you? Could have fucking crushed us.
Okay, no, hey, we ain't looking for no beef with you.
Seems trouble once in.
Keep an eye on the AV for me, will you?
I don't get paid to do that.
I wasn't asking. And not a scratch on it when I get back.
Welcome to Lizzie's.
Don't come here often, do ya? It's good to see you, cabron. Now sit down and tell me what's got your shorts in a knot.
It's good to see you too, Jack. How you been?
As you no doubt saw from that clip, as the brutalist, fortress-like skyscrapers give way to slums, my hover ride downtown comes to an end. What this demoer didn't do, that I did, after I beat the snot out of these dudes, I went over, picked up their basketball, and threw that crap in from the halfway line. Swish! I meet up with Jackie Wells, Man Mountain, ne'er-do-well, and trusted friend, and just as we're starting to lay out a scheme, Abernathy's Corpo goons bust in, fire me for gross misconduct, which apparently is what assassination is, then they seize my meager assets, I'm talking about finances here, and to boot, they render all my company-owned augments inoperable. Thus ends my brief stint at the top of the food chain. Thus begins the game proper, and a Phoenix Rises story that syncs up quite nicely with that 48-minute preview video CDPR put out in 2018. For those of you unfamiliar with that footage, Jackie and V meet up with Dexter Deshawn, a legendary fixer that they hope will provide a means to enter the big leagues of merc work. The first main quest is to secure a high-end spider-bot that the local Maelstrom gang has 5-finger discounted from some corpos called Militech. Essentially, this is the first time I'm let loose into the game without strings attached. and I'm determined to not only do things differently, but to get a nitty-gritty connoisseur's feel of the 2077 engine. We'll get to the results of that in a few minutes.
This is pointless. I know where I'm gonna strike before I do it. Typical. Knew I'd say that.
You're for a fight. Which one of you's my guy?
Me!
Wasn't expecting a tag team, but whatever, I guess. So, who do I got first?
No. You don't get it. That body and this one, I'm the same person.
So, what? Seeing double?
I used to be twins, which you could probably guess. The twins had a close bond. They wanted to be closer, stronger. So they installed neural oscillation sinks. And now they're, well, me. One person, two bodies. My bodies do everything together. Everything.
Fine, but we're raising the stakes.
Fair. See no problem with that. So, can we get started?
Show me what you got.
Let's get the middling news out of the way first. I don't like being the bearer of average news, but it has to be said that the base gunplay here feels solid enough, but it's utilitarian in places. Sure, you have a soft cover system that allows you to pop and pepper targets, and your enemies are fairly easily acquired via a soft lock-on system that snaps to center mass when you ADS, and obviously PC players are going to turn that right off. You're also packing a 3-weapon system cycled by taps of Y, or you can hold down the same button for a basic selection wheel. We also have a sprint function and a multi-directional double tap dodge that are both bound to a generous stamina bar. I mean, everything is more or less where it should be, but it just doesn't quite feel as exciting or kinetic as what was shown in the 2018 footage. Actually, while we're on this topic, here's a quick aside on some tests I ran on stamina. At minimum body stat, it took me a full 30 seconds of continuous sprinting to completely deplete the bar. Then it took 9 seconds for a full regen. Also, you can dodge 10 times to render the stamina bar empty, but interestingly, jumping on the spot does not drain your stamina whatsoever. Alright, so back to the topic at hand. Admittedly, in a subsequent non-cool build, the gunplay did improve slightly with sort of wall running perks, double jumping, and a Dread-inspired drug that allowed me to disco slide around in slow-mo. That said, the preview code I played of 2077 never fully lost that niggling sort of combat rigidity. I mean, obviously I didn't go in expecting Destiny or Apex Legends sort of hyperactivity. This is an ARPG, first and foremost. But yeah, I still think a touch more polish is needed to make this a bit more faithful to the promotional materials out there. I think the somewhat simplistic AI lets the side down a little here too. In that opening firefight, I'm lighting up scumbags, and they're taking cover well enough, but they're continuing to poke their beaks out into bad situations where I've clearly already established a bullet right of way. In a later fight, they show more spirit by flanking me and pushing in to use a fully fledged melee system against me. And just quickly, that's like light, heavy attacks, blocks, timed parries, all bound to that stamina bar. Once again, in one of these later gunfights, I even get zeroed a few times, mostly by flung grenades. But that's mostly due to the fact that I have no HUD element yet. That highlights when an explosive present lands right next to me. I am, however, pleased by the alternate tactical options available in a combat arena. Unbeknownst to me at the time, the cool stat largely governs stealth, which means I could get my neck snapping Solid Snake on. When the heavy boss from the E3 video appears and starts renovating walls out of an apartment with his machine gun, I decide to go the opposite way to CDPR's demoer. I flank extreme right, wriggle through a secret little crawl space hole, and that puts me in a better position to sneakily dispatch this goon. Speaking of being a ninja, the controls have changed since those earlier promo vids. You can now sidle up to somebody and press X to grab them, and then your options are Y for a lethal takedown, or X again for a non-lethal. If your unwilling contestant is standing near a container that you can ditch bodies into, in one fell swoop you can auto-dispatch them how you like, and insta-dump them into the bin. It's certainly not the first game to offer this, but I appreciate the option being put in there. Speaking of cool stuff, I have a few other tidbits on weapons before we continue into a new gameplay clip. Holstering your gat can be done with a double tap of Y, and pistol whipping is a thing with a click of the right stick. Boomsticks fall under 3 main classes as well. These 3 pigeonholes are power, and I'm talking conventional weapons that fire bullets propelled by gunpowder, simple, tried and true, and inexpensive. Next we have smart weapons, small handheld launchers for self-guided missiles. They lock onto targets via smart link. Also, since the missiles are self-propelled, the barrels can be short and require little ventilation. Lastly, we have tech, a powerful electromagnetic force generated by magnets around the barrel to launch projectiles at ludicrous speeds. These are perfect for piercing through armor and other defenses. Tech bullets have triangular casings that burn after leaving the barrel. Don't let your weapons dealer charge you for those holographic sights, because they come as standard. And speaking of weapons dealers, in one of the previous demos, CDPR didn't go and see this guy. And man, Wilson was my first port of call. I happily rolled into his shop and I was eyeing off a $1,500 level 26 legendary DS1 Pulsar submachine gun. The sort of weapon that was rocking 128 DPS, plus 11 chemical damage, plus 3% crit damage, and plus 6% crit chance. Excited? I went to buy it. Nope. You need 20 street cred, okay? Unfazed, I started drooling over an epic katana. Item level 12, 148 DPS, plus 62 damage, it slices, it dices, for only 770 eddies. That said, street cred wasn't 20. V got told to take her fat stacks elsewhere. In the end, I just walked over to Coach Fred here, and I bought a club that he was selling and went around bashing people on the head. Between that and my array of revolvers, pistols, and a limb-hungry shotgun, I think I managed to dispense a decent amount of gunishment. With my first trial by fire bit of combat done, I basically did what they did in the E3 demo. I secured our naked, near-dead package, I plonk her outside for the militaristic private health insurance squad, and I do my very best to light them up when they appear and try to save her. But yeah, no dice. Scripted moment. Best I can do is give their ambulance a few dozen new speed holes as they exit stage left, to absolutely no response. Unfazed, I turn on my heel and I go down to street level for my first taste of 2077's much anticipated Night City Sandbox. But yeah, like the Gunplay, I'm left to sift through a mixed bag of emotions and somewhat unmet expectations. I mean, I'm absolutely impressed by the visual slickness and the mechanical potential of it all, but there are rough edges here and there, and I get a sense that I need to be quite a bit further into the game before this sandbox blooms into being an amazing playground. The crowd tech and the PED AI is definitely impressive. A veritable horde of garishly dressed citizens, and I'm talking tranks, lobos and zipheads, just naturally flow around me as I weirdly catch myself worrying about our complete lack of social distancing. Holding LB allows V to scan these nobodies to glean their basic citizen type and threat level. From what I saw, 2077 certainly doesn't rise to Watch Dogs levels of identity theft. What I saw was a sea of sort of mostly inconsequential, one-line spewing extras. That said, there are more than enough unique NPCs seeded in there, who are definitely worth investigating. Plus, there are roving gang members and NCPD personnel to do side battles with. Personally, I took the time to help the fuzz out in a few optional vigilante missions, but I didn't get much recognition. Zero props from cops. And while we're on behavioural patterns, I should also like to mention that I went streaking throughout Night City. Again, for science. Well, I went as nude as the game would allow me. Boobs out only. I'm sorry to say it, but whatever you're packing south of the equator is going to be covered up by a pair of futuristic undies. Be that as it may, I still got some really cool angry responses from NPCs, couple of propositions, and then, in an act of extreme American squeamishness, the man hunted me down and shot me dead. Moving right along, vehicular traffic is not as dense or reactive as I thought it would be. At one point I jumped up and did a tap dance on somebody's bonnet, to no applause, not even a critical honk. Also, carjacking isn't just some innate skill that you can do. Depending on the car that you're trying to lift, you might need +7 body or +20 technical ability. And even in my secondary playthrough, I did not have the stats required to try any of that. Fact is, you're just going to have to wait quite a few hours before you can test out your anarchy. I mean, I tried a little bit, and the chaos that I did ignite was satisfying. However, the cops basically punched my dance card very quickly with very little effort. While we're talking cars, it's worth noting that V's version of Roach, a summonable Quadra Turbo R740, is always at your fingertips. Once again, this car is sort of a case of looks wicked cool in videos, but the reality isn't quite there yet. For starters, the top speed of this badass knockoff Lambo leaves a lot to be desired, at least in its base form. Mind you, I did appreciate the ability to do handbrakey cornering, and you can leave fully sick, full street length burnout marks. Bonus points for that. That said, the combat from vehicle sections lack that blockbuster adrenaline and speed of what's been shown in the promo videos. Now, I'm not sure if some velocity enhancing motion blur or some other visual effect wasn't activating in my build, but my shootout against a van full of pursuers sort of felt like it took place at like 50, 60 kilometers an hour, not breakneck speeds. Not the stuff that I'm looking at here and salivating over. Some other quick notes: you can totally shoot from your car at any time. No scripted sequence required. You simply tap Y to whip out a pistole, and you can free aim with your usual aim and shoot controls, shifting to LB and RB. Now, the octopi among you can effectively shoot and drive at the same time, but it's only going to be pistols from the driver's seat. If you're riding shotgun, you can, well, use a shotgun or any other rifle. Other things worth mentioning, I counted 11 radio stations, all accessible on D-pad right. For those of you who want to get their Cyberpunk on, D-pad down does the GTA thing and brings up your phone. And you can swap between 2 chase cams and a cockpit view with D-pad left. Now, before we get too far away from this section, let me just drop that disclaimer again. I have to concede that my experiences here with the driving could just be another case of the early part of the game. And yeah, like as badass as the Quadra looks, it's most likely just a starter jalopy in the performance department. While I didn't see the option, I'm guessing performance mods are a thing, which is why some of the car footage here looks so good. And I mean, it does, doesn't it? I also have to say that there's certainly flashier and presumably more radically accelerating autos out there just waiting to be plucked off the street. But once again, only by mid-game Vs. Last but not least, there's always that wise enthusiasm curve that is, this game isn't meant to be GTA 5 or a Burnout Paradise. It's an ARPG. Moving away from vehicles, I am happy to say then that the actual role-playing part of 2077 is in fact running on all cylinders and then some. I instantly gelled with V's voice actor and attitude, plus CDPR's much renowned gift for great script writing and intriguing multi-solution questing takes hold immediately. In no time, I was tactically asking probing questions, seeking out cunning alternate problem solutions, and swimming, absolutely swimming, in incidental world-building info. There is just so much going on in Night City. I can already see myself spending quadruple-digit hours here, pouring through every rich, grimy inch of this place, while also somehow missing a ton of things. Conversely, if you're one of those speedreading types, 2077 has this super cool skip dialogue function that mimics an old-school fast-forwarding VCR. Basically, you can do this in face-to-face conversations, or even point at people who are walking and talking with you to make them sort of physically speed up within the space. Oh, and there's a fast-traveling system, and you can instantly change the time of day to suit any mission start requirements. Last but not least, I love the little things. I also appreciated the ability to pet cats. Better yet, it was gratifying to see how my Corpo backstory opened up different doors compared to that original CDPR demoer, who I think went with maybe Street Kid. In one example, I met with a desperate Militech Corpo, who basically wanted me to cut decks out of the Spiderbot deal. Now, using my Corpo instincts and unique dialogue options, I just cut right through her bullcrap scheme to have me pay for the Spiderbot with a virus-ridden credit card. I even managed to reason with her on this sort of fellow working stiff kind of level to glean more info. Certainly more info than some filthy street rat could ever hope to get. Hell, I think I may have even seen the beginnings of a beautiful frenemyship blossoming with this Corpo. Will it go that way? Man, only time, and God knows how many branching story paths and ending permutations will tell. Now, even though I was armed with the knowledge to neutralize the credit chip virus, I wanted to radically divert from the E3 demoers' decisions. So I basically strode over to the Maelstrom hideout, gained entry, and tested out what would happen if I let one of these sort of timed dialogue options get out of hand. In this case, a goon tried to order my mate, Jackie, to sit his punk ass down on the lounge or else. Now I just let the 4-second timer run out on my ability to intervene in that conflict, just to see if things would kick off and ruin what could have been a lucrative trade with some seriously chromed up Borgs. Everybody just drew iron, and we got to it. Thankfully, by now, I had invested in a double-barreled shotgun that basically takes everybody off at the legs if you get close enough. Heads and arms too. Even with the limitations of my cool fixation, I'm still surprisingly effective in a gun battle. The biggest downside with my build is that it feels like I'm less made out of bionic armor and more out of balsa wood.
You gonna tell me what happened back there?
Let's say I have a bad feeling about this.
Oh. Happened a lot to you?
Rarely.
Smelling trouble around the bend?
Drive, Jackie, just drive.
Someone's coming our way. This does not look good.
Stop your vehicle immediately.
Let's get out of here.
On it!
You are transporting contraband that is corporate property. I repeat, stop the car.
With this cool build, I'm also still reasonably adept at hacking my enemies into submission. Holding LB for 3 seconds allows me to scan any victim in my line of sight in slow-mo time. A quick tap of RB opens a suite of malware, which, providing I have the Cyberdeck memory to spend, lets me ruin people's days in creative ways. We're talking revealing/tagging any of his pals that are sharing a network with him, and then maybe I'll decide to make some of their grenades blow up in their pants. Alternatively, I can instill them with this irresistible urge to decorate by turning their pistols on themselves and painting the walls red. Effortlessly sliding between those sorts of attacks, solid but staid sort of gunplay, and gratifying stealth is a pretty good gameplay loop. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't yearning to get my mitts on some of the crazier, unlockable perks. It would be an understatement to say that the selection has grown since the last reveal. And of course, that was all work in progress anyway. The new unlock screen is practically unrecognizable now. The 5 aforementioned main attributes now split off into 12 sub-specializations, and each of these specializations house a whopping 20 perks each. Now obviously I didn't have time to drool over every single one, so to keep you informed I did the next best thing. I scrolled right down the list to jot down the most expensive ones you can get. The creme de la creme of Chrome. We're talking about endgame things that I could definitely work with. Having a rocket launcher for an arm, having no weapon sway or bullet spread for full 10-second killing sprees, being gifted with 50% less shotgun recoil because you've dismembered somebody, or just receiving the sort of Cyberdeck memory regen that lets you live out a godlike Neo from the Matrix hacking experience. The list of delights just goes on and on. And while we're talking about this, I've just realized I haven't even spoken about the joy of Cyberware mods yet. These are game-changing, purchasable hardware that can be installed in one of 20 mod slots located all about your person. You might want the ability to slow time for 25% for 5 seconds. You might want to be completely fireproof. You might want mantis arm blades or a deadly whip-like filament that can take people's heads off. Whatever your sadistic pleasure, go see your local Ripperdoc for a full catalogue of nasty self-improvement options. Speaking of things I've forgotten to tell you about, we haven't even gotten into Braindances yet, a next-gen enhancement over Rick Deckard's photo scanning detective tool. And hey, sidebar, Braindances are also a way to get virtual lap dances, bit-based ecstasy. When leveraged for non-porn uses, Braindances basically let you relive the memories of other people as you individually flick between visual, audio, and thermal feeds. You can even hack into cameras that were there on the day to get more info. Basically, it's this incredibly slick, virtual crime scene mechanic that is sure to be used extensively throughout the game, and it's gonna have you scratching your head.
Plan simple, do nothing odd, don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
And remember, everything on full blast. They'll spot us extra for a wicked adrenaline high.
Okay, on you go.
Down! Everybody! On the ground! I want to see you kissing the flooring! Money! Now! Or I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Well, yeah, hey... Now! Before I blow your fucking head off! Ah!
Slow, deep breaths. Your cortisol and adrenaline spiked, but the soft activated your hormone blockers. Nothing happened. You're alive and well.
That was too much. Could feel the guy's pain, his stress, his hope. Hope wrapped up in something else.
Probably took a booster just before. You'll be fine. Got everything set up? Let's switch over to editing mode.
I'll sever the link to the BD Roller's sensory array. You'll be able to look around freely. Whole scene's yours. Full cam control in analysis mode, so move around, zoom in and out, whatever else you come up with. Think of it as your own little sandbox. So analysis mode, you control playback. Can even pause when you feel the need. Then you use the editor console to unpause. Try it.
Plan simple, do nothing odd, don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out, and we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the studio.
Got it.
Dream as hell, right? Well, that's not all. You can speed things up or rewind, whatever you like. Give it a try. Rewind, roll it back to the top. All good, neat. Now try fast forwarding a bit.
Plan simple, do nothing odd, don't be creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out.
Okay. You can also reset the recording. That'll take you right back to the beginning. Try it. Now for some fun. This here's why you came in the first place. In analysis mode, you get to view and even scan details of the enviro recorded by the BD Roller. Focus on the heat, the gun this gonk gets from his buddy at the beginning. Now scan it.
Plan's simple. Do nothing odd. Don't get creative. You go in, snatch the cash, get out. And we sell the BD to those psycho freaks from the street. And remember, anything before left. That's all you have to leave right.
Okay, right here. Excellent. Let's move on. Now heads up. In analysis mode, you can ferret out background noise and conversations if the roller got close enough. This tech records everything, every little detail, even the sights and sounds the roller was never aware of. To see the sources of the recorded sensory signals, switch to the audio layer in the editor. Go ahead and try that now. Okay, good. Now you should see several sound signatures in the store. Choose one and hone in on it.
Pack of 6, case of Brosif, and a couple of zappers.
Okay, we have a deal today on 2 flavors, curry and surf and turf. Everybody!
So, any thoughts?
Unbelievable. Seriously, like what's happening right next to me.
Yeah, it's how BD recording implants work. They pick up everything, all the elements in the background. Then an editor tweaks them, makes them pop. Keep playing with the sound, explore it a bit. We'll move on when you get bored.
I want to see you kissing the flooring! Money! Meth!
Sometimes you can analyze extra layers in the raw, stuff the roller's cyberware picked up.
Like what?
Ev's got Kiroshi optics that grab infrared, meaning you should be able to grab heat signatures from her recording.
Huh. Hella nice.
Scanning works on peeps, too. Walk up to the wounded chick. Try scanning her. Alright, next thing. Scroll forward to the part where our artist gets a lead injection.
Or I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Well, now! Fucking head off!
See that? They shot him and he never saw it coming. But you will. Here it comes. My favorite part of the game. See the blinking thing over the entrance? Surveillance cam. Must have caught our shooter. You'll see in a sec. Cam feeds to the screen behind the clerk. Roll back to where the screen's in the kid's field of vision, then scan it. His own Chumba shot him. Probably planned to all along. Must have got a nice slice of cred on the black market for a BD like this. BD freaks are ready to pay a preem for a real flatline. Anyway, if you've seen enough, you can exit.
Yeah, it's impressive, right? It's too bad most of the BDs we do here are only good for flogging the log.
And you know what? I've just noticed that I've gone way over budget on my time here, and yet, oddly, I still feel like I've only scratched the surface on my time with this game. I mean, I should definitely say that I think it's great news that CDPR has wisely decided to delay this and take some more dev time, because I do think the odd screw is kind of loose here in this otherwise gorgeous and enticing chassis. And then you have to balance what I'm saying here against the fact that it's preview code. Because the bottom line is this. I went into my Cyberpunk 2077 preview session with an expectation of being shown something with Game of the Year potential barcoded all over it. I left with slight concerns, but absolutely the same expectations and the brightest of hopes for the future. In short, I'm pretty damn sure I've been infected by this code. And until I can get my hands on it again, I just know it's going to stay at the absolute forefront of my frontal cortex. When launch time does eventually roll around, my Eddies are gonna be ready.
Think, assholes, think!
So this is where we're keeping you quiet, brother.
I'm going in!
not do this. Implantation is against my beliefs. Please, I do not want them.
Calm down. It's over now. I'm not with them.